Hello everyone, I am Be Better Gamer. Welcome to Be Better Gamer Wrestling, your place for Let's Plays of WWF No Mercy, WCW NW Revenge, Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, and WWE 2K16. Today I will be playing WWF No Mercy, going through the Intercontinental Championship path with The Rock. As defending champion, this is my second Intercontinental Championship path where I'm defending the title. And last episode I played as Shawn Michaels, and now I'm continuing with The Rock. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you check out all my other Let's Plays on this channel. I hope you are thoroughly entertained and you learn a little something while watching this. And if you're coming back, if you're one of my many subscribers, many of my 300 subscribers now, thank you very much to everyone who has subscribed and supported me. Welcome back. I appreciate you. I appreciate you, Zombiac. Shout out to Zombiac. I told him I was going to give him a shout out during the Shawn Michaels one, and I didn't because I forgot about it. But I wrote it down in my notes for this video to make sure I got it done. So shout out to him. Shout out to all my fans, all my subscribers. So there you go. Well, The Rock. I'm very excited about this episode. So Shawn Michaels, obviously one of the most popular wrestlers of all time, and I noticed on my channel, on my Let's Plays, I don't really have a lot of, I guess I would say like very popular, wrestlers. My first episode was about S.A. Rios, so I mean, I like S.A. Rios, but I'm sure he's not still trending on Twitter as often as The Rock does to this very day. I mean, WWE, they still bring in The Rock for WrestleMania. They still refer to guys Shawn Michaels, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and Mick Foley, all these guys, very important to the Attitude Era, so they have a very, very special place in a lot of wrestling fans' heart. Wrestling fans, young and old, know who these guys are, and a lot of wrestling fans who don't necessarily follow the product today, who maybe don't watch the events, who don't watch the Raws, they still, they're most familiar with guys like The Rock and Triple H and Stone Cold and Shawn Michaels. So I noticed my channel doesn't really have a lot of those guys, so I'm very excited to actually be talking about one of the key members of the Attitude Era. One of the defining moments of the Attitude Era was The Rock becoming The Rock, was, transitioning from Rocky Maivia to The Rock and becoming one of the top heels and baby faces, and just one of those people that you just love to hate him, you love to love him. You can't deny his charm, his charisma. I mean, he was The Rock. Complete polar opposite in that of Stone Cold Steve Austin, but just as successful. And yeah, just like Shawn Michaels, my European Championship Let's Play with Shawn Michaels has like 3,000 views on it. And hopefully I get that many views with my Intercontinental Championship. What was I doing there with that people's elbow? I had the big sidewalk slam, and he thought I was gonna give the people's elbow to Al Snow, and I totally messed that up. I guess I didn't hold down the run button. You gotta make sure you hold down the run button, ladies and gentlemen, when you're doing the people's elbow, so you correctly get it off. Oh well, I'm pretty sure I get a few people elbows done in this run. But yeah, The Rock, I think, what excites me about this, so usually when I do these Let's Plays, when I do, No Mercy Let's Plays, I like to talk about the time of what was going on in WWE around the time No Mercy was being developed. So No Mercy was released in November of 2000. WrestleMania 2000, the previous AKI wrestling game, was released in October of 99. So usually I like to focus on, October of 99, November 99 to December of 2000. And The Rock around that time was World Heavyweight Champion. And, winner of the 2000 Royal Rumble. I got Royal Rumble fever. I'm recording this before this Sunday's Royal Rumble, and I'm just so excited about it. Can't wait. But, The Rock won that year's Royal Rumble. He was the world champion for a good amount of time. Main evented WrestleMania in the four-way match between him, Triple H, Big Show, and Mankind, Mick Foley. So The Rock would spend most of the time as champion. He would go into the next year's WrestleMania, main event that with Austin as well. So he was kind of a big deal, but it was all about the World Heavyweight Championship, okay? And this is the Intercontinental Championship path, which, by the way, I should say, in this path, There I go, giving the rock bottom to Al Snow, one of many who's going to catch that rock bottom in this Let's Play. But I have to win the first and second match, and I'm going to lose the third match, and then win the rest of the matches. So that's going to be the Let's Play for this championship path. There you go, giving the salute to all the fans, smelling it in. That's pretty cool. It's one of the few like victory celebrations that happen in this game. There's only a few of them. Stone Cold gets one. I believe Kane gets one. The Rock gets one. Too Cool gets one. They dance. And am I leaving anyone out? Probably am. Maybe Taker gets one? I'm not sure. I don't remember if Taker gets one or not. But yeah, so usually, you know, I talk around that time. But I feel like it's very important for the Intercontinental Championship to talk about the Intercontinental Championship reigns that these competitors had, that these wrestlers had. And The Rock's Intercontinental Championship reign, just like Shawn Michaels, was pivotal, was the defining start, the launching point for his career. You know, I talked about in the Shawn Michaels Let's Play, that's when he turned heel, he broke away from the Rockers, he created the Heartbreak Kid persona, he had stellar matches with Razor Ramon, the ladder matches, career-defining matches we still talk about to this very day. And it laid the ground, you know, work for what HBK would become and accomplish, and the same thing with The Rock. I think it's great that I'm fighting D'Lo Brown, because I'm going to talk about D'Lo Brown a little bit in this video too, because The Rock was part of the Nation. So The Rock was a two-time Intercontinental Champion, and he actually made his debut Survivor Series 96. I'm not going to go too much detail about like The Rock's history, because I think everyone knows it by now. Son of Rocky Johnson, grandson of High Chief Peter Maivia, part of the Samoan Inoue family, cousin of Roman Reigns, Rikishi, Yokozuna, all those guys. You know the deal. You should know all this by now, especially with Roman Reigns. They've been talking about the Samoan family a lot. And last year's Royal Rumble, you had The Rock come out and help Roman Reigns win it. Makes you wonder if he's going to show up again this year. You know, he's already not rumored, but he confirmed that he's going to be in WrestleMania. So who knows, you know, the road to WrestleMania starts at the Royal Rumble. Don't even get me started. I love the Royal Rumble. So, but yeah, everyone knows about the Samoan family. But, you know, and if you don't know, well, now you know. And also, he made his debut at Survivor Series 96, which a lot of people should know by now if you follow The Rock long enough. They always made a big point to, you know, make you remember that, because when he came in, he was Rocky Maivia. He was this young, upstart, blue chipper, as what Jim Ross would call him. And they really were doing their best to allude to The Rock's heritage. You know, Rocky being Rocky Johnson, and Maivia being High Chief Peter Maivia. So they really wanted to embrace that. He had, you know, these he had this weird, like, sort of like lay kind of I don't even know what you would call it, like not dress, but it was something he wore on his chest, and he just looked like the goody two shoes, you know, like guy that you would probably love to have over from dinner and hang out with. He could do no wrong. Not The Rock we would come to know him in a couple of years. This was because, you know, you're talking about 1996, WWE was in that weird place of transitioning from, you know, all these characters that were very cartoonish, very kid-friendly, if you will, and transitioning to more edgy, real characters that were more closer to the wrestlers that portrayed them. For example, that Survivor Series 96 was very important because that was the same Survivor Series where Stone Cold Steve Austin fought Bret Hart. Bret Hart just coming from his hiatus, losing at WrestleMania 12. And that would set up the WrestleMania match, WrestleMania 13 match between Hart and Austin. You know, Austin starting to blow up. Undertaker made his return there as well, debuting the Attitude Era look we would come to know him having, where he looked like a cross between like a biker and like old school Undertaker. Very different look, very edgy look. And Farouk, also at Survivor Series 96, debuting his new look. He was no longer Farouk Assad, this like space gladiator. Like, that's literally what he looked like. He looked like a space gladiator. And he was more of like this Black Panther type of gimmick, and that would lead into Farouk forming the Nation of Domination. So all this was going on while The Rock was coming out with his $1 million smile and winning his Survivor Series match. Who featured, I should say, it was The Rock, Mark Merrill, Jake Roberts, and the Stalker, aka Barry Windham. They defeated Crush, Jerry Lawler, Goldust, and Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Not Triple H, Hunter Hearst Helmsley. And I think that's very important, because one thing I like about this Let's Play is it's got a nice little bookend to it. So that was where he debuted, Survivor Series 96 at MSG, my old stomping grounds. And very quickly, The Rock would win the Intercontinental Championship. He would win it February 13th, 1997, on an episode of Thursday Raw Thursday. That's what they called it, Thursday Raw Thursday. Before SmackDown, Thursday Raw SmackDown. So this is the match that you have to lose, The Rock and Chris Jericho. I'm just letting Jericho beat me up. That's basically what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to let Jericho roll me up. There he goes, but it's in the ropes. And what you want to do, if you want to lose a match easily, like usually I'll go for like strong grapples so that they can counter it, because like right in the beginning they're going to counter your strong grapples. And for some reason I'm not doing that in this match. I'm just letting Jericho kind of like beat me and get his special meter going, and it's taking him forever to do it. See what I did there? And when you get pinned, you're going to want to hold the control stick, because if you hold the control stick in this game, when you're getting pinned, you stay in the pin. So that's how you want to lose. I think the reason why they did that is because way back in WCW NW Revenge, a little trick was if you hit the control stick, you get out of the pin easily. So I think to kind of break away from that, they changed it so that when you hold the control stick, you actually stay in the pin. So it was very frustrating. I used to play against people in WCW NW Revenge who would always use the control stick, and I'm telling you, it would take forever to beat them, because they just keep doing that. So like right now, this probably wouldn't have beaten me, but since I'm holding the control stick, boom, lose the match, and then we could move on to the next one. But the rest of these matches, I'm gonna have to win. And this sets me on a completely different path from Shawn Michaels, so you won't be getting a lot of those crazy, insane, all types of matches that I was doing with Shawn Michaels. I was in the Royal Rumble, I was in against a super heavyweight, I was in a handicap match, I was in everything. They wanted me to do everything in that run. So flash forward, November 1996, a few months later, so we're talking November, December, January, 4 months later, into February, on an episode of Thursday Raw Thursday, The Rock beats Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Oh, actually, that's not true. He didn't beat him on Thursday Raw Thursday for that title. I should make a note. He actually beat him. No, he did beat him on Thursday Raw Thursday. Yes, because WWE is so weird. So they did this thing where Triple H, I'm going to call him Triple H. He wasn't Triple H yet. He was Hunter Hearst Helmsley. He was supposed to defend his title at In Your House against The Rock for the Intercontinental Championship. But then they were going to have a match on Thursday, Raw Thursday. I don't know why. Because it was like, well, let's just fight now instead of the pay-per-view. And Rock ended up beating him. So The Rock goes into the pay-per-view as the champion and Triple H as the challenger. And I didn't remember this. I remember The Rock winning the Intercontinental Championship as Rocky Maivia. I didn't remember who he won it from, and now it makes so much more sense. It makes everything complete in a way, because it's Triple H. He would hold the title for 74 days. He would lose it to Owen Hart on an episode of Raw on April 28th, 1997. Alright, so we have a lot of firsts at this In Your House Final Four. It was on February 16th, 1997. The Rock, first time Intercontinental Champion. He is facing Triple H, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, as he's known right now. He's not yet Triple H. And they have a match, and Goldust comes out towards the end of the match, because Goldust and Hunter Hearst Helmsley are feuding. I don't know why. I didn't look into that. But so he's distracted, and he gets rolled up by The Rock. So The Rock rolls him up, gives him a schoolboy, wins the match, keeps the title, and afterwards, while that is happening, while all that's going on, Marlena gets choked out by China. Now, we don't know she's China yet because she hasn't appeared yet. This is the first time she's appeared in WWF. And it's kind of a big deal, you know. She shows up, chokes Marlena out, and that's the first time we see China. So again, very important. A lot of important stuff happening around The Rock becoming the Intercontinental Championship. You know, you have the debut of China, which is, again, you know, and he's beating Triple H. He's beating Triple H for the title. This is all very important stuff that you should remember for, you know, for later on. I mean, it's quite obvious if you know the history between The Rock and Triple H. It's quite obvious where all this is going to lead into. But so we got Rock as the Intercontinental Champion. He's Rocky Maivia. At WrestleMania 13, The Rock is going to take on the Sultan. Now, the Sultan was Rikishi in disguise. You know, they didn't say it was Rikishi. Obviously, this was his character, the Sultan, before he became Rikishi Fatu, and then later just plain old Rikishi. So that's pretty cool. He's fighting his cousin at WrestleMania. And yeah, that's just kind of neat. I just think that's kind of neat that happened. You know, they don't really mention that. WWE doesn't really talk about that because I don't think they like acknowledging the Sultan gimmick. And, you know, they're making this whole thing like The Rock, first, third generation wrestler, this and that. And Rikishi technically was a third generation wrestler too. But they couldn't say that because then that would acknowledge who he was underneath that mask. And they wanted him to be this very mysterious and ambiguous character, the Sultan. So, and that's a pretty cool moment too because it's something you never saw ever again, really. Again, they were trying to push Rock as this wholesome babyface. After, you know, he wins the match. After the match, he's still getting beat up by the Sultan, by the Sheik, who was in the Sultan's corner. Bob Backlund's there, and they're all gaining up on The Rock. And then Rocky Johnson shows up. The Rock's dad shows up, and they start fighting together, and it becomes this, you know, great moment. Two baby faces giving the Rocky Johnson punch. Very cool because you never saw that again with The Rock. You never saw, you know, Rocky Johnson show up ever again, pretty much, as far as I can remember, you know, unless he was in the audience or something like that. So, and The Rock, you know, The Rock talks about how when he first was coming into WWE, he didn't want to be associated with Rocky Johnson. He didn't want to be associated with High Chief Peter Maivia. He didn't want them to call him Rocky Maivia because he wanted to make it on his own. He didn't want anyone to think that he's getting all of these opportunities because of his name. He wanted people to think that he's getting all these opportunities because of his hard work and his own natural talent. And, you know, I can understand that. I get that. But I think WWE wanted to capitalize on that. And it kind of worked out for him because, so while he's Intercontinental Champion, you know, he defends it again in your house against Savio Vega. And then eventually he loses the title to Owen Hart, April 28th, 1997, on a Monday Night Raw. This is when Bret Hart was transitioning into a heel, and the Hart Foundation were like getting all the titles. Hart and British Bulldog, I believe, were already the tag team champions. Bulldog had the European Championship. Now with Owen Hart's got the Intercontinental Championship, so that whole thing's going on. They're gonna feud with DX and go down that path. But shortly after that, The Rock would get injured. But before he got injured, fans started getting sour on The Rock. Okay, this is post, you know, WrestleMania 13. You had that big double turn. You had Austin and Bret Hart. Austin, the babyface. Bret Hart, the babyface. Austin was the heel. And you had the big double turn in the match when Bret Hart turns heel and Austin turns babyface. Very hard to do. You can't. It's insanely hard to do a double turn in a match, and that's probably one of the most famous double turns in existence. And it kind of changed the whole direction of the company because you got Stone Cold Steve Austin. This, it's Stone Cold Steve. You all know who Stone Cold Steve Austin is. I don't have to explain it. But someone who is fighting the good fight, if you will, but he's cursing, he's defying authority, he's beating up cops who are trying to restrain him, you know, he's attacking Bret Hart, who's in a wheelchair. This is all stuff that sounds like a bad guy would do. People are cheering him. So that's, you know, that started changing. That's where the attitude was coming in from. Characters were getting a lot edgier. DX was running around. DX, who had just recently formed, and they were very edgy, pushing the envelope a lot. You know, a lot of the sexuality and a lot of the, you know, crude jokes they would make, and how they would taunt the other wrestlers. So all of a sudden you have this blue chipper babyface, The Rock, trying to still do that whole, you know, pump his hands to the crowd and have people cheer him and, you know, go Rocky, Rocky, Rocky. So those fans, they're all smartasses now, because they're used to watching Stone Cold Steve Austin, they're used to watching DX, and within a short couple of months, you know, even on the flip side over in WCW, you got NWO, everyone's cheering the NWO, everyone's, you know, taking the survey with Scott Hall and playing along with that. So they see The Rock and they're like, Rocky sucks. So you got the fans chanting Rocky, and then at the end of it, they're chanting sucks. And people don't want to see him win. They don't want to see this babyface comeback. So sometimes they even chant, which is like really mean if you think about it. Not if you think about it, it is mean. But they were chanting "Die Rocky Die" at one point because they were just tired. It wasn't that they wanted him to die. They were tired of this, you know, stereotypical white meat babyface, if you will, as JR would like to call them. And the fans were tired of it. They wanted to see more of Stone Cold Steve Austin. They wanted to see more of DX. They wanted to see more of those characters. Even Bret Hart's heel turn was very authentic, because a lot of his promos and a lot of the things they did came from a true, honest place. You know, and Bret Hart didn't change his outfit. He didn't change his hair. He didn't do anything crazy. He just started talking from an honest place. And that got him over as a heel, you know, because it felt real to the audience. And they wanted something real. And Rocky Maivia wasn't real. So he gets hurt with a knee injury, I believe. Takes him out for a few months. And when he comes back, he comes back on an episode of Raw, August 11th, 1997. Now, Farouk is in a match with Chains. Chains was representing that, like, biker group. I forgot what they were called. Oh, man. Whatever. They weren't important. But Farouk has his Nation of Domination. He's got Kama Mustafa, D'Lo Brown, and then Farouk. Yeah, it's just that. And they're the Nation of Domination. Again, another edgy, authentic stable. You know, feels very real, close to home to the audience. You know, they're wrestling. They're wrestling sort of like this Black Panther, you know, esque militant group. And Farouk, total badass. I mean, you don't want to mess with Farouk, Ron Simmons. And The Rock shows up out of nowhere. He hasn't been on TV. He hasn't been on camera. He's been nursing his injury, comes in, he gives Chains the rock bottom. It's not called the rock bottom yet, but that's what he gives him, the rock bottom. It's not the first time he did it. He did it previously before, just never really, you know, used it as a big finisher thing or anything like that. And Farouk wins the match. The Rock and Farouk do the Nation salute, and now The Rock is the newest member of the Nation of Domination. And this sets up The Rock becoming The Rock. So he doesn't want to be called Rocky Maivia anymore. He wants to be addressed as The Rock, because that's his name. You know, the Rocky Maivia was the name WWE gave him. The Rock is his own name. So very, very true to that whole Nation theme. You know, what they were going for him to adopt his own name as opposed to be given a name by WWE. And The Rock is able to just speak his mind, and we start to discover that The Rock, A, is really good on the mic, B, he's very honest about how he felt as being Rocky Maivia and the fans booing him and chanting "Die Rocky Die" and "Rocky sucks." So he starts belittling everyone. That makes him a great heel. You know, everyone is like all of a sudden, screw you, Rock, you suck. And The Rock's like, I don't suck, you suck. Much better than that, much more entertaining than that. His promos weren't as simple as that. But now he's with the Nation, and he's helping them with their feuds. You know, they're feuding with LOD. They fight him at Bad Blood in Your House, October 97. Nation are trying to beat up Ahmed Johnson and Ken Shamrock. So at Survivor Series 97, you got Legion of Doom, Ahmed Johnson, and Ken Shamrock against the Nation, Farouk, The Rock, Kama, and D'Lo Brown. But then at DX in Your House, so The Rock now becoming the highlight of the Nation, really, because, you know, before you had Ron Simmons, and Ron Simmons is great, you know, don't get me wrong, but he didn't really have the mic skills on any level as The Rock. Obviously, Ron Simmons has been wrestling for a very long time, former WCW World Heavyweight Champion before he came to WWE, but The Rock really gave, I guess, that like youthful energy. You know, he was a lot more relatable to the fans in terms of someone you could boo. You know, I don't know, it just seemed like, I don't think people really wanted to boo the Nation, to be honest. I dug the Nation. I was a big fan of the Nation of Domination growing up. I don't know, I really dug their vibe. They just seemed like a really tough group, and you didn't want to mess with them. I didn't see anything wrong with that. And we lead into the D-Generation X in Your House. The Rock is saying, you know, he's the people's champion, so he deserves the title. He's going after the Intercontinental Championship, the title he had before. And Stone Cold Steve Austin just so happens to be the Intercontinental Champion. Now, Stone Cold Steve Austin got the title from Owen Hart. Okay, Owen Hart it was the one who ended up breaking Austin's neck, giving him that neck injury. And Austin still finished the match, ended up winning the IC title from Owen Hart. The title had to be vacated, if I believe correctly, and then Owen Hart won it back at a tournament, and then Austin at Survivor Series would beat Owen Hart for the IC title again. So now Austin's a champion again, but Austin's just a champion because, you know, he's Stone Cold Steve Austin. He doesn't really care too much about the title. He just likes kicking ass and taking names and drinking beer. Steve Weisers, as he called them. So D-Generation X, go watch that match. I should say, you know, definitely you're going to want to watch the debut of The Rock over in Survivor Series 96. And in Your House, Final Four, The Rock's match against Triple H, Hunter Hearst Helmsley at the time. You could skip a lot of the tag team matches with the Nation unless you want to watch. If you want to watch really good Rock with the Nation moments, honestly, you're going to want to watch his promo stuff on the Monday Night Raws leading up to these events where the Nation fought in these tag team matches, because that's when you got to see The Rock grow and become this great, you know, speaker on the mic that we know of him today. So D-Generation X, Stone Cold Steve Austin basically nerfs the Nation of Domination. I mean, he's got his pickup truck out. He's throwing them through the picture. He gives right at the beginning. He gives D'Lo Brown a stunner. You know, he throws Farouk into the side of it and Kama Mustafa into the side of it. He's beating up everyone. He beats up The Rock, pins him 1, 2, 3. He leaves. Stone Cold Steve Austin, still the champion, just completely runs over the Nation. Vince McMahon and Stone Cold Steve Austin are starting to not get along over this time because Stone Cold Steve Austin doesn't like Vince McMahon holding him back. And the next night on Raw, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Vince McMahon tells Steve Austin that he didn't like his actions at the pay-per-view. He didn't like how the way he treated the Nation and used his car and endangered everyone in the match as well as the people in the audience. So he's saying, we're going to have a rematch, The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Stone Cold's like, that ain't happening, Jack. And he says, you know what? To hell with the IC title. You want the IC title so bad, Rock. Here, you can have it. Stone Cold gives the IC championship to The Rock, which was unprecedented. You don't just give a championship to someone else. I mean, it's happened very rarely in wrestling, but you know, it's also very rare for like the babyface champion to give it to like a heel and just say like, I don't want it. But it's Stone Cold Steve Austin. He could do whatever he wants. But of course, he gets the last laugh. He stuns The Rock. Like, look at your champion. That's your champion, Vince. He stuns The Rock. He takes the IC title still because The Rock had stolen it from him before that. So he takes the IC title. He throws it off of a bridge on the following week's Raw, and it becomes a whole thing about the IC title. Eventually, The Rock gets the IC championship, you know, the physical one. He's holding it, and now he's the People's Champion. That's what he's calling himself, the People's Champion. And this was the defining moment for The Rock. The Rock's second reign as Intercontinental Champion, because he's rolling with the Nation. He's the only one holding the title from that group, and he's speaking a lot more on the mic. His cockiness, his arrogance is coming out a lot more. And, you know, it's starting to rub Farouk the wrong way, because Farouk is the leader. So he's like, why is he, you know, all of a sudden cutting me off in promos? Like, that's messed up. We're a team, we're a unit. And The Rock challenges Ken Shamrock for no reason. He basically says, you know, Shamrock, you're the world's most dangerous man. I'm this People's Champion. Let's fight. But this feud between The Rock and Ken Shamrock really helps establish The Rock as a top heel holding the Intercontinental Championship, much like Shawn Michaels. When Shawn Michaels had the Intercontinental Championship as a heel, it helped establish him. You know, it's funny, if you look back at the history of a lot of the IC champions, you know, we talked about how it leads them to greater things. A lot of the great IC championship runs were from heels. You know, Macho Man Randy Savage, Mr. Perfect, Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon, The Rock. You know, a lot of these guys, they had the championship titles when they were heels. And I think that has a lot to say about the importance of having a good heel. The Rock was a great heel. He can talk on the mic. He said all the stuff that made you want to boo him, and then he cheated in the matches because he had the Nation of Domination with him. You know, always interfering, causing distractions. You know, when the Rock's not when the ref's not looking, D'Lo Brown doing the D'Lo splash. Later on, you'd have Mark Henry, you know, hitting guys, slamming guys. Farouk, Kama Mustafa interfering on The Rock's behalf, and then he comes around, he turns around saying, oh, it's all him, when it's really, you know, it's not him. It makes you want to hate them. And the fact that they hold the championship, it might not be the world championship, but it's still a championship that's very prized within the company. It's preventing a lot of people that you probably would want to see as champion get the title because of them cheating. It makes you hate them even more. So The Rock, very effective as a heel. So he feuds with Ken Shamrock over a few months. He fights him at Unforgiven 98. Over the Edge. Wait, no, I'm sorry. He fights him at Royal Rumble 98. No Way Out. There's a tag team match with Ken Shamrock, and then at WrestleMania 14, that's the big culmination of the feud. Rocky Maivia against Ken Shamrock. Ken Shamrock actually beats him. He beats him at WrestleMania. He beat him at Royal Rumble, but The Rock, you know, he cheated. He had brass knucks. He planted brass knucks in Ken Shamrock's tights. Go watch the match. That match is really fun. But it happens again at WrestleMania. Ken Shamrock beats The Rock, but he won't let go. He's snapping. He's got him in the ankle lock, and he's snapping. He won't let go. So the refs reverse the decision, and again, that just puts him over as a great heel. The next night, pretty much, The Rock takes over the Nation. He's like, you know what? I'm the leader of the Nation. Farouk, you're old news. Now The Rock becomes the leader of the Nation, and he starts letting the other guys kind of come out of their shell. That's when Kama Mustafa changes into the Godfather. D'Lo Brown adds a little bit of a swagger to his walk, and then Mark Henry is also someone who's able to come out, you know, world's strongest man. So now The Rock is leading the Nation. You got them feuding with Farouk now and Shamrock. At Unforgiven in Your House, Farouk, Shamrock, and Steve Blackman take out the Nation. Over the Edge in Your House, The Rock defends his IC Championship against Farouk. He beats Farouk, and that leads into King of the Ring 98. Now, King of the Ring 98, Shamrock gets the last laugh. You got The Rock defeating Dan Severn at the King of the Ring semifinal due to Nation interference. But Nation interference isn't enough. Ken Shamrock wins the King of the Ring 1998, which is good, which is fine. that seemed like the year The Rock should win it, but he didn't. But it's okay because everyone just ended up talking about the Mankind Undertaker match, the Hell in a Cell match. So maybe it's a good thing that The Rock didn't win that year's King of the Ring. But Triple H was out on commentary because he was talking about how he wants the IC Championship. Now DX is coming off of their feud with the Hart Foundation, their dismantling of the Hart Foundation. All the stuff went down with Survivor Series, and Triple H was in this long feud with Owen Hart after that. And DX has been running amok. Now we're having pretty much the two top factions in the company at the time, DX and The Rock's Nation, going at it because Triple H and The Rock are going at it. Keep in mind, this is 1998, the summer of 1998. The Rock coming in at Survivor Series 1996. So we're pretty much in like The Rock's sophomore year of being in with the WWF, and it's already getting to that near main event status with his feud with Triple H, because I think the pivotal moment in The Rock's rise to the top while IC champion was SummerSlam not SummerSlam, Fully Loaded in Your House. So Fully Loaded in Your House, July 26, 1998. The Rock and Triple H fought each other in a 2 out of 3 falls match, 30-minute time limit. Go watch this match if you haven't seen it. I would say this is the precursor to the Iron Man match that would take place between The Rock and Triple H in 2000s, which I'll get to when I do my Rock's World Heavyweight Championship run or Triple H Championship run, whichever comes first. That's the one where Undertaker came back and as the American Badass, or just the regular Badass. I don't think he was calling himself the American Badass yet. But Triple H and The Rock, 2 out of 3 falls. They go the entire distance, all 30 minutes, and that's how The Rock gets to keep his title because it's tied 1-1. Triple H about to win it, and then the timer ends. In this whole feud, The Rock was supposed to be the heel, but after that match, people started cheering for The Rock because they started, he was hard not to like. He was funny on the mic. When he became the leader of the nation, the slogans and the catchphrases he would say, people would imitate him. He's like, no. This isn't sing along with The Rock, and people love that. People love that, like he would do that stuff. So it was a pivotal moment for him because this is where his work ethic, him going the distance, 30 minutes with Triple H, the both of them too. Triple H definitely got put over very well in this match too, but we're talking about The Rock, and that's where fans started really warming up to him and cheering him, even though he was supposed to be the bad guy. They're still cheering Triple H. They still want Triple H to win, but they're also cheering for The Rock. So you have this great dynamic going on, and that leads us to SummerSlam 98, almost 2 years after The Rock's debut. We're back at MSG, Madison Square Garden, and now we're at a ladder match. Triple H and The Rock. There wasn't a ladder match done in WWF since SummerSlam 95. See how it's all connected? SummerSlam 95, Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon ladder match 2. Okay, I talked about both those ladder matches, WrestleMania 10, SummerSlam 95, and my Shawn Michaels Let's Play. Now I'm doing The Rock. I'm talking about The Rock and Triple H doing a ladder match. Talk about Rock and Triple H. Talking about what's going on now in WrestleMania 32. Rumors of The Rock showing up at WrestleMania. Rumors of Triple H showing up at WrestleMania. Maybe they'll fight again. They never had that big WrestleMania moment. WWF No Mercy, I do my Let's Plays. I talk about the year 2000. What was the big feud that year? The Rock and Triple H. It would lead into The Rock Austin, but really The Rock Triple H was the big feud that year. It's all connected, and it's crazy to see where the history of that, first started. So go watch those matches. Go watch Fully Loaded 1998, The Rock and Triple H. Go watch SummerSlam 98, Triple H against The Rock ladder match. Triple H wins. He gets the IC title. After that, and that match solidifies The Rock as a star. I mean, both of them, both Triple H and The Rock as stars, that match really helped. But specifically The Rock, because after that, you know, he would get booted from the Nation, and the fans would embrace him as the People's Champion, calling himself the People's Champion. He would start to feud with Austin, lead us into Survivor Series 98, and we all know what happens then. The rest, as they say, is history. He wins the World Heavyweight Championship at the Deadly Games tournament, Survivor Series 98, aligning himself with the corporation. Vince McMahon, he is the corporate champion now. And the rest truly is history. I mean, we all know it from there, so I don't have to talk about it. I'm also getting towards the end of the video. Gotta beat this jabroni Chris Jericho, put him down with the rock bottom, and then we're done with this Intercontinental Championship run. But isn't that crazy? Isn't that nuts? I really love doing the research for this video because, I mean, we all know about The Rock. We all love The Rock. I love The Rock. I mean, I don't know if you love The Rock, but I love The Rock. But it's really cool to see, once again, the Intercontinental Championship being such a defining moment in someone's career. Not just in just them having a major title, but just helping them transition into a main event player because of the storylines they were involved with at the time, the angles they were involved with. And especially around this time, this was such a pivotal moment for the Attitude Era. But just look, in 2 years, we're talking Survivor Series 96 to Survivor Series 98, and The Rock, completely different from Rocky Maivia, becomes World Heavyweight Champion. And he already had 2 Intercontinental Championship runs, and his second Intercontinental Championship run was very important. He never fought for the IC title again after that, which is crazy to me. He never fought. He was completely just always in the World Heavyweight Championship picture, and he never looked back. And you know, he is what he is today. And it makes you wonder. It makes you wonder if we're ever going to see that again. If we're ever going to see a time where we're seeing someone hold a secondary title and they change right in front of our eyes. You know, 2 years is not a lot of time in wrestling. I mean, well, it is a lot of time in wrestling, I should say. 2 years is not a lot of time in our lives, you know, but 2 years in the world of wrestling, so much can happen. So much can happen in a year of wrestling. A guy who is not popular at the beginning of the year could be one of the biggest stars by the end of the year, and you know, that's happened time and time again. So it really makes you wonder, are we going to see that with Dean Ambrose? Are we going to see that with Kevin Owens? Who else can get the IC title and grow to transition to be this great big thing? People have done it before, and The Rock is probably one of the best examples as someone who the IC championship run was such a defining moment in the career and set them on the path to becoming who they are today. So I hope you like this video. I enjoyed doing the research for this video. Go watch all those matches I recommend. Classic Rock Triple H matches, and it just makes so much more sense now when you go back and you revisit them. So especially if you've forgotten about half of them like I did. So yeah, again, thank you for joining me. Another WWF Let's Play. Check out all my other Let's Plays: Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, WCW NW Revenge, WWE 2K16. Check out my historic matches videos. And yeah, until next time, keep watching wrestling. Watch all the wrestling. And thank you for watching my channel.